Hello everyone, today is day 10 of solving a LeetCode question every day. So today we're going to solve is palindrome. So given a string s, return true if it is a palindrome, otherwise return false. So a palindrome is a string that reads the same forward and backward. It's also case insensitive and ignores all non-alphanumeric characters. So as you can see here in this string s, this string reads the same forwards and backwards, ignoring this question mark and ignoring the uppercase letters. So this is a return true. Then here we have false, because as you can see, there's a C here, but a B here. So these do not read the same forwards and backwards. So false is returned. So let's get straight into the solution. So let's say string S was it a car or a cat I saw? This is how we're going to solve this problem. We're going to start by initializing two pointers I and j. I is going to be at the very first index 0 and j is going to be at the last index of the string. So the first step is to check if the current character is alphanumerical. And if it's not, we're going to decrement the index if it's j or increment it if it's I. So as we can see here, W is alphanumerical, so we can leave I where it is. However, a question mark isn't, so we're going to decrement J. So now we can see both characters in I and J are both alphanumerical. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to check if the character at index I in the string's lowercase version is equal to the character at index J in the string's lowercase version. So what I mean by that is we have a W here and we have a W here. We compare them to each other and they're equal. So in that case, we return true and then we increment I and decrement J. So we increment I and we decrement J. So then basically we just repeat this throughout the whole entire string. So we see A and A are equal. So we continue. We see S and S are equal. So we continue. Now I and J both point to spaces, and spaces are not alphanumerical. So in this case, we're just going to increment I and decrement J. So what we're going to see if we continue this algorithm is we're eventually going to get to the very middle and find out that all the characters in the string are equal to each other. So in that case, we're just going to return true. Now let's say before that I at j, there was another I. Now what would happen when we increment I and decrement j is t is not equal to I anymore. So now in this case, we can return false and say the string is not a palindrome. So I just get a high level overview of the solution. So let's get straight into coding it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define an is alphanumerical method. And this method will just return if the current character is alphanumerical. And the way we can do this in Python is through a method called isAlNum. We then initialize I to be 0. We initialize j to be the length of s minus 1. And we set this string s that is passed to us to just be all lowercase. We then begin a while loop that's going to run while I is less than j. Now, while not self.isAlphanumerical at index I in the string s and I is less than j, we want to increment I by 1. So what this basically means is while the current character at index I is not alphanumerical, we want to increment I by 1. But we have this second condition, I is less than j, because we don't want I to pass j, because at that point I can just infinitely increment itself if the string was consisted of just non-alphanumerical characters, and we can get an out of bounds exception. So that's the reason we have an I that's less than j. We then want to do the exact same thing, except we do it with j and we decrement j instead of increment it. We next check if the character at index I is not equal to the character at index j, and if that's the case, we want to return false since the string is not a palindrome. Next, we just increment I by 1 and decrement j by 1. Finally, if we process the entire string and every character is equal to its corresponding other character, we just want to return true. So let's submit this. The time complexity of this algorithm is O of n, so linear time. And the reason why it's O of n is because each character in the string is only processed once. Now the space complexity of this problem is just going to be constant since we're not using any extra space.